Welcome to What's Happening. I'm Michael Locke, Executive Director of the nonprofit Harwich Conservation Trust. And here with us today is Todd Kelley of Kelley Trailblazers and also the park interpreter at the Nickerson State Park in Brewster. And we're going to learn more about a wildlife tracking workshop sponsored by Harwich Conservation Trust that Todd will be leading in Harwich on Saturday, March 30th. Yeah. So what are some of the things, if somebody's interested in registering for this workshop, it's $15 per person. Folks can register at the Harwich Conservation Trust website, harwichconservationtrust.org. What will be some of the things that you'll be looking for? What kind of animal tracks would you be looking for?
The art of tracking is that you're not waiting for animals to leave sign. You know, you're going to sit there and wait for them to come to you and leave sign. You're looking for the sign that's already there in front of us.
You say leave sign,
Right.
like leave a print or maybe
a browse,
like
breaking
something,
eating,
okay.
or just grass laying over where the animals have we call them runs, they're trails. You'll see different evidences. So there's called low sign or ground sign and mid sign or high sign. Like, if we had animals, deer they'll reach up and pull acorns out of trees, and they'll actually leave that in their footprints. And of course, evidence on the tree itself where they've browsed. So that's what we're going to look for. But tracking, kind of like birding, isn't a fast-paced walk. It's kind of slow as far as moving territory-wise. But because there's so much around, and it's getting to interpret that. But animals, we call them home ranges, and what that is I like to use my hands like this. If we think of our house, the walls of our house and our yard, inside our house we have adequate food, water, and safety. Safety to sleep, rest, play, take care of raised children and such. And the same for animals, is that birds don't really live in nests. They use them to rear their young. Coyotes don't live in dens. They go into a den for get out of inclement weather in the wintertime. Other animals will use that den as well. But for the home ranges, like for a coyote, let's say 6 square miles, 12 square miles of territory to have that adequate food, water, and safety. And so their movements are for that, in pursuit of food, water, or safety. And so those ranges, especially with females, they contract around rearing young, and males expand when they're searching for mates. So if you're thinking of a yard, your yard is like this, fenced in. For wildlife, they're contracting and expanding, and they're also moving.
So these ranges are flexing,
right,
depending on the needs of
right,
the particular animal.
What's there, safety is a big thing, adequate food, and then other animals, because they'll overlap each other. And then so they do through scent marking, through sign of scats and urine. And then also with like otters, they do what we call a scant, which is a glandular secretion, and it's kind of like mucus when you see it. But it has a distinct purpose, and it's about communication.
I see. So tell us a little bit about the different animals you might be looking for sign from, for tracks from.
Yeah, so obviously coyote and fox. We do have gray fox here. But where we're going, definitely otter. And fisher. We actually saw a fisher scat on the last walk I did with Dennis Conservation Trust. But also mink, where we're at, you look at the area and you can kind of tell what animals this would support. And mink would be there, certainly muskrat, raccoons, skunks. We did one. A fox seemed to den in this area, and we came up, and female foxes, when their urine is a scent marking, and it'll smell similar to a skunk, not quite the pungent of a skunk, but and we were at a spot, and I knew there was a den, and I was like to the people, do you smell that? And they were like, no. And we moved around and came in, and I was like, do you just smell that? So the mother was in the den when we were there, and she was secreting urine to scent mark while she was in with her kits, and it got really strong because we were close to her, and she was just telling us, hey, get out of here, leave me alone. And we did.
Right, respected that.
She respected that, yeah. But so animals will give you clues, and they want to be left alone. And what happens with skunks is that they have the anal glands, and they spray, and really they are docile animals, but dogs just go right at them. And the only thing the skunk can do is spray them. That's why dogs, it's so common for them to get sprayed. Whereas for us, skunks are pretty docile animals. So we learn about that. We learn about their behaviors, their food requirements, but also the tracks themselves. So if you think of the earth as the ground, so it's called the horizon, the top, and the foot comes down and compresses the ground, it creates a three-dimensional track. And that's where the science is. So there's an art to observation, but there's an actual consistent science with down in the bottom of the track is the true track, the size of the foot. So if you ever seen tracks in the snow or in the mud where it's loose, like the snow melts and it's like, wow, that's Bigfoot. And it's like, no, it was just a dog, but it looks very large because this overall track, top track, is melting out. But down in the bottom is the true track. So there's the walls, the floor, the walls, and the horizon. Then there's two more complicated parts. Is this right there where my fingers are? It's called the lateral ridge and the horizon cut, and it's the pressure against the ground that these pressure releases are, and that's consistent, whether it's your foot, my foot, a bear's foot, or a mouse's foot.
So when you're interpreting these tracks, you can get a sense of what kind of activity any particular wildlife species was engaged in.
That's what this workshop is. So it's really more of a workshop instructing that. And then we even do, like if you went to a tracking school, they'd have what are called sandboxes. And we have plenty of sand there. So we'll actually have, somebody will volunteer whether they want to or not, but, and we'll watch their behavior. I have them do a couple of things, and you see the reaction of the sand.
Oh, of the print itself,
the
track itself.
And it doesn't matter who the person is, or even if it's a dog. Dogs, of course, four-legged. But this is where the science is. The consistency is that, it's said that the foot is what makes the track, but it's the earth that gives up the track, and that's what's consistent. That's the science.
So the science and art of wildlife tracking, Saturday, March 30th, 9:30 to noon. Folks can register at $15 per person at Harwich Conservation Trust's website, harwichconservationtrust.org. And with their confirmation email, they'll get directions to the tracking workshop location.
Yes.
Todd, fascinating.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Mike.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again on What's Happening.